The Dallas Cowboys were one of the teams to which Russell Wilson was linked until they got Dak Prescott signed, and there went that. Jason Garrett, who was the first head coach in the NFL for Dak Prescott, appeared with Morten Andersen on the Great Dane Nation podcast. Here is Garrett talking about his former starting quarterback, Dak Prescott.
We talk about the special people and the special players we've had opportunities to be around, and he's just absolutely one of them. We drafted him in the middle of the fourth round in 2016, and Tony Romo gets hurt, and Dak comes in as a rookie and wins 13 games for us. And the success that he's had, leading that organization. He's a fantastic player who's going to get better and better and better. He's a fantastic leader and a fantastic just person to have in that position. So really excited for him, really excited for the Cowboys and for the NFL. I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, I didn't recognize Morten Andersen. I hadn't seen Morten Andersen in so long. I didn't recognize him. And this is a very inside Dallas reference. I thought it was Dale Hansen when it popped up on the screen, Charean. I hadn't seen Morten Andersen in so long. So anyway, boy, I can't look. Put that back up. You got to come up with something better for Jason Garrett than 2007 Assistant Coach of the Year. He was the NFL Coach of the Year at one point. So, okay, they cycled. They're telling me that they cycled the graphic. But no matter what your cycle is, that doesn't, don't put that up there. All right. Once had a paper route would also be up there if that is enough. So what did you make of what the former Cowboys coach had to say about the current Cowboys quarterback?
Well, they still have a close relationship, Mike. And when Dak Prescott went down in week 5, obviously they were playing the Giants, and Jason was there supporting Dak. And I'll say this about Jason. I don't know that the guy's cut out to be a head coach. Some guys just aren't head coaches. He didn't get it done in Dallas as a head coach. The jury's still out whether he's a good play caller or not. He did that in Dallas before he became head coach. I would say the jury's probably still out on that as a play caller. But I think as a quarterbacks coach and what he does with quarterbacks, I think you say he's really good at that. When you look at how he developed Tony Romo, how he developed Dak Prescott, and you think about where those guys were or weren't drafted. In Tony Romo's case, he wasn't drafted. He was an undrafted free agent who Bill Parcells, Sean Payton found, and Bill Parcells knew enough to put him in the game for Drew Bledsoe, and Tony Romo lit it up. But Jason Garrett really developed him. And then he drafted Dak Prescott in the 4th round, and Jason Garrett really developed him. So I think we're going to talk about Daniel Jones shortly, but I think that bodes well if Daniel Jones has any bit of franchise quarterback in him, that he has Jason Garrett around him as his quarterback's type coach. I know that's technically not his title, but he's really good with quarterbacks. But, I think they still have a close relationship, Mike, and I think that Dak Prescott owes Jason Garrett quite a bit for where he is in his career for that big contract that he got.
And you make a great point about Jason Garrett. There are plenty of coaches who are so good as assistants, they earn one head coaching job, and then when that inevitably ends, they go back to being great assistants. They earn another head coaching job. And sometimes, like with Norv Turner on the offensive side of the ball, Wade Phillips on the defensive side of the ball, the cycle continues for a full career until someone finally figures out the best job for this person is coordinator. And that may be the case with Jason Garrett, but he did get interviewed by the Chargers in the most recent cycle, which stunned a lot of people and caused some applause in some circles, not here, of course. We'll see if Daniel Jones becomes what, let's say, Josh Allen became in his 3rd season. We were surprised by the explosion from Josh Allen last year. We could be equally surprised by what Daniel Jones does with Saquon Barkley back and Kenny Golladay on the team and Evan Engram if he catches more passes than he drops and Kyle Rudolph now on the team. We could be saying, hey, this Giants offense is something, and then Jason Garrett's name is on more lists. Not that it helped Brian Daboll, the Bills' offensive coordinator last year, but it could help Jason Garrett become a head coach again. Let's talk about the Cowboys, though. And it occurred to me that one of the problems with the Cowboys under Jerry Jones is that his tendency to sell, to hype, to talk things up. There's never a season where the Cowboys have lowered expectations. There's never any tempering of what people should be expecting because you've got Jerry Jones constantly creating the impression that he's got a great team even when he doesn't. So you got to cut through that smoke, and you really got to ask yourself, how good is this Cowboys team? What have they really done to improve? How can we trust what they've done defensively when the stuff they did defensively last year was such a disaster? But more importantly, on Dak Prescott's side of the ball, assuming he's going to be 100%, are they really a great offense right now? I mean, Dak was on pace for like 6,000 passing yards, and that's not an exaggeration, but that was only through 4 starts and into a 5th game against the Giants. But we've seen Ezekiel Elliott the past couple of years not be the guy he was early in his career. They've got great receivers, but the offensive line is struggling to stay healthy, and it's not what it was back in 2016 when the Cowboys were great. Is it fair to have these expectations that Dak's healthy and the offense is just going to take off?
Boy, they do have questions, Mike. How's Tyron Smith's back going to hold up, and how's that neck going to respond? Zach Martin has a neck injury. Is he going to be okay throughout the entire season? Lyle Collins missed the entire season last year. Is he going to rebound at right tackle? You know, that offensive line at one time was the best in the NFL. There was no question about that. Perhaps one of the best of all time. But they aren't there now, and maybe they can get back there, but who knows? I mean, that's what the Cowboys are counting on, right? And people are saying, oh, they're going to have a great offensive line. We don't know that. We really don't know that. We don't know that Dak Prescott's going to be 100% again. We just don't. I don't know how he would know that at this point. I think he's running a little bit, but, you know, he's not to that point yet where you know for sure that he's going to be 100%. So, yeah, I agree with you. This is a team with a lot of questions. And even when they were going 5-11, 5-11, and 5-11 under Dave Campo, they had great expectations all those years. You're right, because Jerry was hyping it up. He always talks about the Super Bowl. He's not afraid to use the Super Bowl word, even though the words, because the Cowboys haven't been there since 1995. He's still willing to put that out there and put all that pressure on his team and on his coach, and it hasn't worked out since 1995. So absolutely, I'm with you. It's a team with a lot of questions of can they rebound? Is Mike McCarthy the coach for this team? Is now Dan Quinn going to improve the defense that much so that they're really good on defense again? It's a lot of questions. No question about it, Mike.
The Cowboys' offensive line has become a broader example of the dynamic that applies to one offensive lineman who becomes a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. Once you get to that level, there's a presumption you're always there. Joe Thomas continuing to check off Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl. He may be a bad example because it's not like he ever had a dramatic decline. But there have been guys where the name says Pro Bowl, the performance says maybe not anymore. And I feel like that's where the Cowboys are as an offensive line. They still have some of the same names, most of the same names. They still have this aura that popped up 5-6 years ago, but between the performance and the health or lack thereof, and, you know, Dak Prescott isn't Patrick Mahomes, but he does run around a lot and buy time for himself, which makes a bad offensive line or a mediocre offensive line look better. I think that our expectations for the Cowboys are too high. And it just occurred to me today, one of the reasons they're too high, and I probably should have thought of this a while ago, but when Jerry Jones applies that everything is awesome, buy my product, this is great approach to his football team, you're never going to have reduced expectations. You're never going to have a lower bar that you somehow surpass. Everything is always positive and optimistic. And when you make a $160 million investment on a 4-year deal in your quarterback who isn't 100% yet, and there's no guarantee he's going to be, you have to sell even more because that's the centerpiece of your offseason. That's the reason to be optimistic. But I don't know how optimistic I am about these Cowboys. I don't know how I feel about Mike McCarthy as the head coach after last year. You know, we've talked about this before. The same folks who are bringing us this fix to the defense brought us the fiasco last year in 1 year under McCarthy. They hired Mike Nolan, and it was a complete and total disaster. So now they got Dan Quinn, and they're telling us it's going to be great. Well, what did you do last year to make us think it's going to be great this year? So I've got real concerns. And, we're spending a whole lot of time on the worst division in football today because they have quarterback issues that are relevant and interesting. But the Cowboys, Charean, even with Dak Prescott, who's arguably the best quarterback in the division, they got a long way to go to get back to the top.
Yeah, and I'll add a layer to what you said about Pro Bowlers being Pro Bowlers annually, like they get that tag, and so they're automatically Pro Bowlers. With the Cowboys, it's sort of the same thing. When you play with the Cowboys, you come in with an instant name recognition. They have more night games, primetime games than any other team. We know that. I mean, it's documented. They're America's team. I think you and I can argue over that a little bit, but I think they're still America's team based on ratings and everything else, and people want to see them, whether they're rooting for them or against them. But the guys come in, and there's that instant, oh, this guy's going to be a star because he's got the star on his helmet, right? And it doesn't always work out like that. So they have some players on there who I think, I don't want to say overrated, but maybe that's the case. Maybe they are overrated. But they instantly come in and have name recognition and expectations and everything else, and they don't always live up to it. And you look at Ezekiel Elliott over the last 2 years since he's gotten that contract, he hasn't played up to that, frankly. And he needs to play better, but everything with the Cowboys starts out, they're going to be good if, right? Dak Prescott, if, he's the best quarterback in the division if the ankle is good. They're the best offensive line if they can overcome all those injuries. They're a better defense if Dan Quinn can get them turned around. But a lot of ifs with this team right now. I agree with you.
And I'll agree with you that the America's team label still applies, but they did get flexed out of a primetime game last year for the Browns.
They did. First time ever.
There's some wear and tear on that sign that says America's team outside the facility. With Dak Prescott, who Jerry Jones was not going to let go under any set of circumstances as the quarterback, and Mike McCarthy as the head coach, and Packers fans, look, we still have to deal with this from time to time. There was something going on between Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. There was some degree of dysfunction. And I know McCarthy said he did cartwheels in the sand when he found out that Dak signed his contract. But McCarthy's got no choice. If he's going to be the coach of that team, if he's going to be the coach of any team, he's the coach of the Cowboys, and he's got to deal with the fact that they want Dak Prescott to be the quarterback. We really didn't see enough last year. There isn't enough of a sample size, Charean, to know that marriage is going to work.
Yeah, no question, Mike. And, people point to the Cowboys and say, well, if Dak had stayed healthy. Again, we don't know that. This was a team with a losing record with Dak Prescott as their quarterback last year. In the 5 games he started, they won 2 of those. And we all know they shouldn't have won that Atlanta game. That was stupid on the Falcons' part to lose that game. So this was not a good team with Dak Prescott as the quarterback. So you're right. We haven't seen enough with Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy to figure out how that relationship is going to work on the field for a full season because he only played 4.5 games last year.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.